Australians know John Singleton as a no-nonsense, super successful business titan, confident and always in command. Tonight, though, a very different John Singleton. Not the businessman, but a broken father, consumed with despair over the death of his beautiful daughter, Dawn. A year ago, almost to the day, Dawn and 5 others were stabbed to death at the Westfield Bondi shopping centre. The perpetrator was 40-year-old Joel Couchy, a mentally ill man who somehow had fallen through the cracks of the health system. Now, a coronial inquest is set to examine what happened and why. But as John tells Nine's Tracy Grimshaw, enough is enough. The prospect of reliving that day fills him with horror.
Millionaire businessman John Singleton is a shattered man. The advertising guru made his fortune through a lifetime of shrewd decisions and being in control. But like any parent would be, he's tormented by his powerlessness in the face of the Bondi stabbing attack and the loss of his precious daughter, Dawn. John, it's good to see you, but I am sorry to be talking to you about the sort of circumstances that we're going to be discussing today.
Yeah.
I want to start by asking you, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. But to go through something like this, it's just inexplicable, Trace. I've been through some rotten things, but nothing as personal as this. I can't go to the movies anymore because as soon as the lights go out, I cry. I don't know why that is. I haven't been to a psychiatrist. I'm not that silly.
So where do you go to talk this out?
I don't. I talk to my dog.
Is that working for you?
Working pretty good, except on the movies. So I've stopped going to the movies. I used to drink my way out of it. Now I don't drink. There's nothing left, is there? I've got my dog, movies.
For all of us, Saturday the 13th of April 2024 was a day of unmitigated horror. Mentally ill and homeless, Joel Couchy armed himself with a hunting knife and headed to Bondi's Westfield shopping centre. In less than 3 minutes, Couchy fatally stabbed 6 people and injured 10 more before being shot dead by a lone policewoman. Ashley Good, Jade Young, Cheng Yishwan, Hikri Adachia, and Faraz Tahir were all killed, along with Dawn Singleton, who at the age of 25 was the first and the youngest of his victims.
She transcends any personality of any person I've ever met. And I'm not exaggerating or making up for the TV. It's just a beautiful little girl. She beamed with happiness, and she was a freak of nature, so unlike any of the rest of us, so forgiving, so sensitive, so gentle. I've never met a more gentle human being than Dawnie. I used to call her Dawnie perfect. And she was just perfect. No one could speak ill of Dawnie because in many ways, she was too soft for this world. And to see someone so gentle and vulnerable have her life concluded like this, it's probably make it 10 times worse. But someone like that to have life taken from them so pointlessly. For someone to be in a shopping centre with a knife his own mum and dad didn't want him to have. Went to the police about. Really?
Dawn had been set to marry her childhood sweetheart, and the reason she'd gone to Westfield was to buy makeup for her wedding. John admits he wasn't always around while his daughter was growing up, but he's grateful for the time they spent together as she prepared for her big day. It was the happiest time of her life, really. It must have been planning her wedding.
Nice. To be with her that period, going to shops, me in wedding gowns, I've never been part of that before. I got to know her right through her life, of course, but the last 2 weeks I spent with her almost every day because the search for the perfect wedding gown, I helped her find it. She was amazed. And Camilla Franks, she worked with me for 10 years, so I know Camilla well. She's brilliant. And Dawnie ordered from her a jacket that I could wear down the aisle, so she'd be equally proud of me in her bridal gown, which we found together. And she got me this jacket. It's got 2 fighting tigers on the back, like a Mike Tyson sort of jacket. I don't think it will ever be worn. I think it'll be hung up next to the bridal gown.
Ordinarily, John Singleton doesn't do interviews these days, but he is dreading the coronial inquest that's to be held into the killings later this month. And he's got plenty to say about that.
I'm worried about the family or loved ones of those people who were killed. And I don't see why their privacy should be upset by an inquiry.
I understand why you're not looking forward to this inquest. I understand why. I understand why none of the families
For 4
would
weeks.
Be. I understand.
Christ almighty. 4 weeks. It's on TV. He kills these people, he gets killed, end of story. What else do they want to find out? For 4 weeks. The lawyers, they're going to have a ball. Last week, we had that poor little girl hammered to death.
Lily James.
By her jilted lover, boyfriend. And now we're going to have 4 weeks of joining and friends being knifed by this lunatic. It will prove nothing. Unless it gets...
While it's hard to argue with this grieving dad's emotion on this, the coronial inquest will examine a raft of issues, including whether early intervention could have prevented Joel Cauchi's murderous rampage, along with the response of security guards and emergency services. But what horrifies John Singleton is the possibility, however slim, of graphic CCTV and police body cam videos being played in court or being released to the public. And so he's pleading for the entire hearing to be shelved.
Why do you have to include the actual killings? You want the knife going in, you want the blood. It's like the first 5 minutes of Taxi Driver. To live through again the macabre footage of them all being stabbed and dying. That is absolutely unwanted in this case.
It's important to note that John's views are his and his alone. He's not speaking on behalf of the other families or even his own. Are you in touch with the other families?
No, I haven't been. They're very much against me speaking at all. I disagree, and I can't see how I can do any damage. This is the only way I can pile pressure on, is hope that the Attorney General or the Premier say to the coroner, whatever you can legally say to the coroner, like, are you sure? Do you really have to? No one derives benefit from this. Dismiss it.
While sensitive footage will be tendered as evidence, the coroner has indicated there is currently no proposal to play it in court. But John wants an ironclad guarantee. They seem to indicate in a letter to you, which you've shared with me, that when that evidence of all of that CCTV vision and the police body cam vision is presented, there will be a proposal to suppress all of that vision and to not play it in court, which seems to indicate that they're not planning to play it in court and they're not planning to release it.
Why don't I just say so? So get rid of all the private footage, the CCTV footage of these people who were killed and the actual killing. Then let them proceed and waste their time and money.
So let me get it clear. You have no legal representation. You are not planning to get legal representation. You're not going to legally petition the court to suppress this vision. That's not your plan?
I have no faith in lawyers. I have no faith in the law. Particularly if things like this go ahead. What would you do? Can I ask what would you do?
If I were you, I would not want that vision released.
But what would I do about it if you were me? What would you do?
Ask, which is what you're doing.
I'm doing it. The rest is really up to the government, the Premier, the Attorney General, God help us, the coroner. But take away the feeding frenzy. Copycat killings is the best you can hope for.
Coming up, a father's anger. Who do you blame for what happened that day?
The killer. And those who let him be free.
And his search for answers that he may never get.
If there is a God, get him in the witness box too. Got some questions I'd like to ask him.
Next Sunday will mark exactly a year since the day that shocked Australia. It'll be a time for reflection on how an innocent afternoon's shopping could end in such horror. And a few weeks later, the coronial inquest will get underway. For businessman John Singleton, whose daughter Dawn was the first of 6 people to lose their lives, it's a process he just can't see the point of. It's the anniversary of that day very soon, which I know is not lost on you.
Yeah.
Is it easier to carry that load today than it was a year ago? Does it get easier?
Yeah, it does when you're not talking about it. Yeah, it's not very easy.
Sorry.
And I can forget it. I can put it to one side for certain periods, but then it comes back to you. And now they have 4 weeks of an unnecessary coronial inquiry, but it's just absolutely stupid. I think it's just a waste of time if it's going to prove anything at all.
The killer, Joel Couchy, had been diagnosed as schizophrenic at the age of 17 and received treatment for 18 years. But 5 years before the attack, with the assistance of his doctor, he'd stopped taking his medication. When he ultimately moved out of home and to a new state, there was no one to monitor his mental health spiral. He was weaned off his medication, according to his parents, under psychiatric care in Queensland. Now, schizophrenia is incurable, but it is manageable, and one of the key management tools is medication.
Yeah.
I want the coroner to ask those psychiatrists why he was weaned off his medication. Don't you want that?
Yes. What does that have to do with footage of lovely little girls and one bloke getting killed? And nothing. So you can just have that in private, while they call it in camera, and then move on to the big questions such as that one. Yes, I'd love to know.
I love my son. I'd give my life for him. I love him dearly. And, you know, how do you love a monster?
In the aftermath of the stabbings, Joel Couchy's devastated parents, Andrew and Michelle, bravely fronted the media.
This is a parent's absolute nightmare when they have a child with mental illness, that something like this would happen. And my heart goes out to the people our son has hurt. If he was in his right mind, he would be absolutely devastated at what he has done.
Do you have some sympathy for the parents?
Yes. Yes, they're going to feel, for a totally different angle, they're going to feel as bad as I did, we did, aren't they? I mean, if one of your kids did that.
Couchy had developed a fascination with knives, and on a visit home, his father found 5 combat knives in his bag. When he confiscated them, his son got angry and went to the police. Don't you want to know why that wasn't a red flag to the police? Why he wasn't monitored after that?
If they want to leave out the sick, macabre, ghoulish footage of the deaths, of the killings, the killing fields, questions like that are more than proper.
John Singleton is a complex man dealing with an impossible situation. And there are some contradictions in his passionate argument that even he acknowledges. As much as he can't bear the idea of a coronial inquest, he still has questions that he wants answered. Who do you blame for what happened that day?
The killer. And those who let him be free. This guy was a sick puppy, proven, demonstrable, at every level. And I think there's anyone with his degree of problems, publicly known, still left to wander around the streets. Suggests the system needs a hard look.
I believe the coroner is going to examine Couchy's history of mental health care, his mental health treatment, how he clearly fell through the cracks and ended up homeless and ended up in the situation where he was at Bondi Junction that day. I believe they're going to interview the psychiatrists who treated him. I believe they're going to talk to the police who interacted with him in Queensland before he came to Sydney.
That's all good. It doesn't need a coroner.
There may well be findings that light a fire under the horribly broken mental health system in this country. Would you not welcome that, John?
Yes, I would welcome. Yes. I'd be happy with that. I think it should be done, could be done. I'd be all for it. The process I could disagree with, but I wouldn't mount the concerns I'm now mounting because I'm only protecting the privacy of those who've been through enough.
Everyone deals with trauma differently. Some buckle. John Singleton comes out swinging.
What am I doing here at 100 years old instead of doing it? If there is a God, get him in the witness box too. Got some questions I'd like to ask him.
Right now, this grieving father is lashing out at a process that he knows will take everyone back to unimaginable pain. Given what he and all the families have been through, you can hardly blame him. What are you going to do through the inquest? Who's going to prop you up? Who props you up, John?
No one will prop me up. I'll be right.
Why am I not sure that I believe you?
Because I'm not sure either. Neither of us are sure.
I think that very often we are our own worst enemies in grief, and one of the things that we torture ourselves with is what if.
Yeah, I know, it's stupid, but you can't help it. What if? If she went half an hour later, well, half an hour earlier, if. Why didn't she have to go and have a look for makeup for a bridal day, which is 6 months off? If only she thought it doesn't matter. Wear any lippy, you know? She doesn't need any makeup anyway. Why? Why at Westfield on a Saturday afternoon? Not a big shopping time. She missed the race of the day. It's you can't help it. I know you shouldn't, but try one day you can't, if only.
I know.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dimity Clancey. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minute segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.